actually do have another question, if that's all right, Tanya.
Sure.
So on one of the videos that I was watching, somebody was talking about, the deal timeline that it really takes for, from start to finish, from, the first point of contact of contacting a business to actually receiving, the financials to listing it to getting the purchase and actually getting the business sold. I kind of laughed when you were talking about it. You were like, most people are going to tell you, 60 days, but I've never seen that happen, right? And I think you said that the fastest you've done one is like 72 days or something. So I would say that on average, would you say that most deals are going to take like a 3 to 6 month timeline, or would you say even longer? Like I know you said, they could be up to several years, right? But on average, if you're, I don't know, handling, you have a large flow of business that you're, trying to prospect and do, what would you say the average timeline is?
You know, I believe the average, and I don't know what it is these days. I haven't seen the actual statistics on it in a while. It used to be 8 to 10 months was the average sale. The, when you think about it, so I don't know how you're being trained, but most of the training for business brokers is still telling them to take a 1 year listing, you know.
Yep.
So if they're being told to take a 1 year listing, why is that? Because if businesses sell in 3 to 6 months, you don't need a 1 year listing,
Right.
right? So, I would just kind of look at it from that perspective. I mean, I personally take 6 month listings because I want to get the business sold. And if I can't get it sold, then I want to reevaluate, am I spending my time wisely? Because if the business is not saleable for whatever reason, or maybe I'm just not the right person to sell it, then I want to be done with it.
Yeah.
If we have good traction and things are, we're getting a lot of interest, but we're just not getting offers right away, or we found something in the business that maybe we're trying to straighten out, and, then I can always extend a listing. But initially, my goal is always to try and get things done sooner rather than later, because at the end of the day, you don't
Yeah.
get paid by listing businesses. You
Yep.
only get paid when you actually sell them.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Hey Tanya, I just want to follow up on Vincent's question. Like, what do you think it's the most is like will make a business hard to sell? Like, it'll take a long time to sell, and then what can the business brokers do to make it sell faster? And like, is it better like a marketing documents, better faster, like better reach out to potential buyers, or like like anything that business brokers can do to make the business sell faster?
Well, I can tell you some of the things that make businesses sell slower, and that is messy finance.
That'll help as well.
Yeah. So, if you don't have the financials, or the financials are messy, or if the financials are inconsistent with the tax returns,
Okay.
then it's gonna be a slower process, because now you have a buyer that has to, look under every rock looking for information. So I think that to speed up the process, you can try and get as much information from the seller up front and put together a package up front. Make sure you have the tax returns and, the P&Ls if they have them, balance sheets if they have them, but get all that documentation up front, because when you start marketing a business and you have buyers that are interested, they're going to say, maybe your document, your CDR or your SIM, whatever it is you're producing, has high level financial data in it, right? You've got the last 3 years of gross revenue and SDE, seller's discretionary earnings. So you're providing that, but they want to see the financials. If you say, oh, well, let me go get those, yeah, I'll request them from the seller, and then 6 weeks later, you still don't have them. You
Mm-hmm.
burn buyers that way.
Yeah.
So it's really, when I first got into the business, I was told, don't worry about it. Just get a worksheet, a handwritten worksheet. Sit down with the seller and ask him, you know, how much did you how much did you generate in revenue last year, and write that number down, and how much is your rent, and how much is your utilities, and on average, and just get that information, write that down, figure
Mm-hmm.
out your price from there, have them sign on the dotted line. Don't bother asking for financials, tax returns, or anything else, and then just go start marketing the business.
Okay.
Yeah, but then you start marketing the business and you look like a complete jack idiot, right? because when the buyers do start asking for financials, you either can't get them from the seller, or you get them and they don't have any resemblance whatsoever to what the seller told you that you've been out there marketing. So, it's just best practices, get the documents up front, so that if you're marketing that their gross revenue was 586,000, you have a tax return that shows that the total sales was 586,000.
Yeah.
And, you don't want to be out there advertising that, or
Mm-hmm.
1.2 million or whatever, and then have tax returns that, tax returns that say 600,000. So
Yeah.
it's funny, I had that just reminded me of a construction firm, a small construction firm that wanted to sell the business. And so I had them send me the financials. I always ask for the P&Ls and the tax returns. They only sent me the P&Ls. So the P&Ls showed like 1.2 million or 1.3 million in revenue. And I said, okay, I still need the tax returns. Send me the tax returns. And the tax returns showed like 700,000 in gross revenue. It was a far cry. And basically any SDE calculation I had done got completely wiped out because they didn't declare all their revenue.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
they went from having SDE of over, 300, close to 400,000 down to negative SDE. It was like, sorry, I can't sell that. you
Yeah.
know?
Is there any industries that are just inherently hard to sell, like take a longer process versus like other industries that's just easier to sell, like restaurants, HVAC, etc.?
I think anything that requires licensing, you have a smaller pool of buyers.
Mm-hmm.
So, law firms, medical practices, professional service firms that require licenses, you have a smaller pool of buyers, and so that can complicate things a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Construction is really interesting because you always have people that want to buy these HVAC companies and plumbing companies and all that don't have a construction license, and it's like, well, you need to get licensed, or you can't really, or hire somebody to be your RMO, the responsible managing officer, or responsible managing employee. But they, so yeah, anything that requires a license can be a little trickier.
Okay, got it. Thank
And
you.
then anything super technical. Like I remember working with a biotech company, and that was, again, just, smaller pool of buyers, but then also I couldn't understand half of what they were talking about because I'm not a scientist. So that was, I had to thank God for AI, because I recorded all the conversations and then AI would translate it for me, or not translate it, but transcribe it.
Yeah.
And then I could go back to the notes. And even though they weren't 100%, at least I could refresh and kind of understand more about what the conversation was.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't write that fast. I mean, there's no way I could take notes during the meetings fast enough. So,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
but yeah, things like that can be. What's easy to sell or easier to sell? Convenience stores, liquor stores, those are easier to sell because they don't take a lot of skill and they're high demand.
Mm-hmm.
Gas stations, car washes, a lot of restaurants come and go all the time. So there's a lot of activity in the restaurant industry. You know, accounting practices are super easy to sell. They're just hard to get a hold of. But I mean, think about it. Your accounting firm typically is going to have really clean books and records.
Mhm.
And the buyer understands how to read the books and records because it's usually in another accounting firm. So those are super easy to sell.
Yeah, still financials because they have good financials.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Sure.